Thank you very much.
Okay. Good morning, please, and hope you're having a great time. Okay. It's quite hot, and you can. I don't know if you can even see the flashes from the background. Okay. So I'm glad you connected. Hope you had away from what we started with. Then before that, I want us to interact a little bit, and then we can get going. Okay. So far, so good. What is our assessment of the COVID-19 break, the compulsory? Generally, any aspect of life you can share with us. Probably share in the comment area. What is your experience during this time, and what are you learning? Okay. Generally, you don't have to peg it to something. Generally, what are you learning during this period, and what is your experience during this COVID-19 period? Okay, let me get your feedbacks and your updates. Yes, good morning, Inonge. Okay, everybody is saying present. No one is saying good morning. Okay. So, what has been your experiences? What you've learned? What has been most striking about this whole thing? Okay. You can share your experience. Okay. I'm still waiting for the responses, and then before we move. So our advancement is on the basis of somebody says it has been a good time for reflection. Okay. So what have you reflected? What have you been reflecting on that has moved you a little bit forward or backward? So another person, Patrick, says it's bad. It's COVID-19 is bad just being home, but I've learned about e-learning. Okay, that is wonderful. Patrick says about e-learning. Selena says it's been a good time for reflection. Esther says it's spending more time with family. Okay. Okay. Inonge says, I have learned to know how to balance my time, especially for the fact that apart from studying, I have had to do chores here at home, and I can't believe I once thought I didn't have time to study at school. Wow. That's experiential. Says, I've learned to every happening in our life comes with a baggage of education and teaching in it. Okay, so always the question is, what do I need to learn from this phase? Bad or good as it may. Victoria says, that's beautiful. It's amazing. Every situation comes with something to learn. Okay, yeah. So do I need to develop? What new attitude do I? Great people arise from crisis. Okay, great people arise from crisis. Have this, learn this, learn this. Great people arise from crisis. Great people arise from crisis. Big business people, they made wealth through crisis. When there was an inflation, a devaluation, or people became rich through that. Some legally, not even illegally. Okay, so one of the things you understand that every crisis comes with a baggage of instruction. If you're able to, the wisdom is to be able to discern the moments. Okay, wisdom is the ability to what? To identify, to recognize difference in this and difference in good and bad, difference in the moments. Okay, this is a moment. This is a great moment. Okay, Geshem says it has made me know about myself, also how to manage time in the midst of other activities. That's discipline. You know, there is a possibility that you would have read this from books, someone would have told you this, but then the experiential encounter with it is what molds us. It's a transformation. Okay, it's a transfiguration. It's more or less what you can call it. It's a salvation. It's a deliverance. Okay, it's a progression. So see something in it. As I've spent, and Naomi says I've spent more time developing my interest in financial investments. Okay, I won't mind getting some of the profit. I even learned how to play a musical instrument. Okay, so I'm waiting for those who are doing financial investment. I'm only here for profit. Okay, or you can register how. Okay, never be negative. Never ever be negative. Okay, negativism is drains energy. Okay, negativism drains energy. Never be negative. Okay, never be negative. Negativity drains energy. Okay, in every situation, always see the way. And nothing, just know that nothing is coincidental in life. Nothing, nothing. Everything happens according to a plan, whether our plan or someone else's plan. Okay, nothing is by coincidence, nothing is by chance. And the moment you have this understanding, you always treat every moment with honor and respect. Okay? Nothing is by chance. Moses says, well, it has cultivated in me new habits. Most importantly, I now run about 8 kilometers every 5 days of the week and cardio exercise. This has just made me realize the importance of consistency in life. That's wonderful. Moses, my father, is an athlete, and I think he's been doing sports for since before I was born. And one of the days we were talking, I shared with him that one of the things I learned from him is patience and consistency. Okay, patience and consistency. For someone who runs, it builds in you a discipline that is further beyond your footballers. Because when you're playing football, you have the crowd, you have some other 10 or you have some other 21 players in the field. And if you score a goal, people would cheer you up and you would get the energy to. But as an athlete, you're running alone. Nobody to clap for you, nobody to motivate you. You are your own motivator. So athleticism, doing sport, doing track sport, it requires some discipline and some energy that can only be churned from inside, and it's long lasting. It's an attitude of consistency. Okay, somebody said, though on the other side it has been a little bit hard. To be honest, I have also learned that the harder the game, the sweeter the victory. Okay, okay, that's wonderful. Nothing is nothing indeed is by coincidence. Nothing, I can tell you. Either what is happening to you is as a result of your action or inaction. Let's just know that what is happening to you is a result of your action or inaction. Okay. Then gifts, Chiwe says, studying alone at home is not that easy. It's always good to have someone to explain. I have learned a lot of discipline. I thought I was, but without stress, okay? It was very hard to put myself, okay? Evelyn says, but I realized that I really, okay, she started by saying, I've learned how to stay disciplined even in the comfort zone, in my comfort zone. The first few weeks I was home, I often gave excuses about studying because I was home. But I realized that I really was disciplined. Now is the best time to demonstrate it. After all, the Bible says, if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. Of course, that's true. Okay. And he said, I'm a Christian, so this period has taught me that I need to wake up and do God's work while I can also do. Why I can, all these things will pass. Okay. And that's beautiful. Okay. Please, this moment is not a casual moment for me talking with you. And I know many of you would develop an impetus that is remarkable, and the energy and the fortitude to run ahead. Okay, and peradventure, let's just imagine that this COVID-19 goes on, but then it won't go on, not as long as some of us are alive. It won't go that further. But then let's just imagine the scenario of which it persists, and so if you die today, what will you tell your creator? I'm not sure one of your excuses will be that COVID-19 made you not to finish your program. Okay, what? What you feed your spirit is more important than what you feed your body. So physical exercise is important. Somebody talked of exercising, right? But physical exercise profits a little. But spiritual exercise has profit for this time, for now, and in the world to come. Yeah. Within this period, please learn to invest in spiritual exercises. Okay? Feed your spirit. I told you life is spiritual. Nothing is by chance, it's orchestrated, whether you accept it or not. It's just like saying, I don't believe in gravity. Just try just try jumping from a spiritual. And so you have to treat it that way. Okay, life is spiritual. There are many of you now that will be experiencing some form of body sicknesses that you weren't experiencing before, and you're from time to time being sick. Do you know why? You've been feeding your spirit with the wrong things. You've been feeding your spirit with the wrong things. You just have some body weaknesses, some things. Please learn to feed your spirit with the right things. Because I came across one scripture that turned me around and gave me the key to controlling my health. Do you know why people are staying indoors and everything? Some are afraid, and some try to rationalize their fear, and then some of them with several reasons. You know, with several reasons. There's a scripture I came across, and please permit me to read that. Yes, permit me to read that. It will go a long way to change you forever. I saw it in Galatians chapter 6, verses 8. Galatians 6, verses 8, and I looked at it from the amplified version of the scriptures, Galatians. Maimbo Mapulanga, okay? Make sure you contact me after this, okay? Make sure you contact me after this, okay? Please do, make sure you do that, okay? Maimbo Mapulanga. Make sure you do that. Make sure you contact me. Okay, so Galatians chapter 5, verses 8. It changed me. Okay. So he said, for he who sows to his own flesh, and somebody explained that to me. When I saw it, somebody explained it to me that sowing to your own flesh means sowing to your ungodly desires. Sowing to your ungodly desires. Sowing, say, he who sows to his own flesh, to his ungodly desire, will from the flesh reap decay, ruin, and destruction. So when you begin to sow into your ungodly desire, when you begin to think things ungodly, from that ungodly desires, what you start experiencing decay in your body, destruction in your body, ruin in your body. But say, when he who sows to the spirit from the spirit reap eternal life and peace. So it's quite important. Learn to sow to your spirit, because if you sow to your flesh, the things you hear, the things you listen, the things you think, whatever is noble, whatever is of good report or of good repute, whatever is trustworthy, think of these things. Galatians 6:8. Galatians 6:8. Think of these things, because if you begin to sow to your ungodly nature, to your own flesh, to your selfish desires, to immorality, when you begin to sow to these thoughts, from there you start experiencing decay in your own body. You start experiencing decay in your own body. It's very vital. You start experiencing decay in your own body. You start experiencing decay in your body. Please, this moment you have to be cautious. You have to be cautious. I tell you have to be cautious. You have to be very, very cautious. So if not, you'll be caught up with the things that are affecting others. See, when there was darkness in Egypt, those that were in Goshen were experiencing light. You cannot be in Goshen, in Zion, in the presence, in the fellowship of God, and be experiencing decay in your body. Why? But you can do that if you are sowing toward your sinful nature, to your sinful desires. Okay? Please be active spiritually. I sent to you a write about activating your your spirit through praying. Reviving yourself through prayers. Please don't play with it. If not, you start experiencing decay in your body. In Ecclesiastes 10:18, Ecclesiastes 10:18, the Bible says, because of laziness, the building decays. Because of laziness, the building decays. And which is the building? So you're lazy, my body starts decaying. I start experiencing fever, headache, malaise, weakness, liver issues, kidney issues, bone issues, blood issues, cancer, what kind of thing? Because of spiritual rightful fellowship. Have right fellowship. He said, wait, the Bible says, while men slept, the evil one sowed evil seed. When you sleep spiritually, the enemy sows evil seed. And one of them is sickness. Sickness is never from God. Those kind of feelings you are is never from God. Once you sleep spiritually, the enemy sows evil seed. Please, this message I'm bringing is for somebody, is for the rescue of somebody now. It's more powerful than the physiology I wanted to think, or I want to teach shortly. It's more powerful. It is a rescue message for somebody. I started by reading for you Galatians 6 verses 8. If you have amplified version, you can read it later. Then I went forward. I read Ecclesiastes 10:18. So because of laziness, the building decays. The building decays. Please, please, and please. Because if you are careless, you may not even be alive to join us when school resumes. Yes, if you are careless, you may not even be alive to join us when school resumes. When the first things are put first, the second things come later. Okay? Now, I know many of us during this period we have been reciting Psalms 91. It is a powerful psalm, but then it comes with activity. So he who dwells in the secret place of the Almighty or of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. He who dwells, you have to make sure you are dwelling in the secret place of the Most High. You have to make sure you are dwelling in the secret place of the Most High. And so he will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. In him I will trust. And say, surely he shall deliver me from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. Surely he shall deliver me. Surely. Why? Because I dwell in the secret place of the Lord. Say, abide in me and I abide to you. And whatever you ask of me, my Heavenly Father shall do it to you. Abide. There is an abiding. Please, this period, don't become lukewarm spiritually. If you've not been fellowshipping with the Almighty, with Jesus Christ, through His Spirit, through the Holy Spirit, please make sure you do that this period. Stay alive by being conscious and acting wisely. Sow to your spirit, don't sow to your flesh. Sow to your spirit, don't sow to your flesh. Sow to your spirit. For anyone who operates in the flesh is an enmity of God, cannot please God. For to be carnally minded is death. But to be spiritually minded is life and peace. To be carnally minded, to be thinking about sensual things is to be separated from God, is to die. But to be spiritually minded is life. You want to live? Choose life. Please, 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 and please. Don't be carnally minded. Don't be carnally minded. Muchipa, thank you for that. John 15, 17 years. So to be carnally minded is death. Please don't be carnally minded. I can tell you, these are trying moments. I don't know. I didn't plan for this much, but so it is not for us to just hear. It's for us to go and do. For this is unto a wise man. The man who hear it and do it is like the man. I'll be likened to the man who built his house on a solid rock. Please hear and do. For we are not just hearers, we should be doers of work. Doers of the work. Not be the forgetful hearer, but he being the doer of the work. Please do those things. Let your fellowship with the Father through His Son Jesus Christ by the Holy Spirit be fervent this season. And if I'm talking and you are not born again, you have not received Jesus Christ, you have not accepted that He came, died for you, and on the third day rose again and gave you His life. If you are not born again, please make it a point of duty. Be born again. Receive Christ, accept what He's done for you, and live a vibrant and glorious life. Oh, Jay, I have done even during this period. During this period, I've experienced that severally. During this period, I have experienced that severally. So what I'm teaching you, I'm not teaching you because I read it, is what rescued me during this period. There are many who will be experiencing signs and symptoms of COVID-19. But I can tell you, please, this is what will rescue you. I have done that. And so please, if you receive Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, please, this is the moment. And if somehow you had received Him, I'm not asking if you are attending a living church or not a living church. That is inconsequential. What I'm saying, have you accepted what He did for you? If you haven't accepted Him, this is a moment for you to accept Him. Just accept Him. Go to Romans 10, verses 10. And then you look at it and then you accept Him. You vocalize it. For with the heart, man believes. But salvation comes when you vocalize your belief. Okay? For with the heart, man believes unto righteousness. But with the mouth, salvation, confession is made unto salvation. Okay, and if you're listening to me, you have received Him, and your ways have not been pleasing to Him. You know it, and the Spirit has convicted you, and you've not been in right fellowship with Him. He doesn't judge. He doesn't judge us or condemn us. He brings messages to restore us. Okay, He brings messages like this to restore us. Okay, He brings messages like this to restore us. That is awesome. Brings messages like this to restore us. And for that, please make a recommitment, refresh. Just ask the Holy Spirit. Say, if we confess our sins, if we acknowledge our sins and confess them, He's faithful and just to forgive us of all our sins. Okay, just acknowledge and confess them to Him. He would forgive you your sins, and He will wipe your sins, and He will remember them no more. So that's so wonderful. Thank you for giving me your time towards that, and it was so awesome. I didn't intend to go that far, but please, if I ask you to contact me after this lecture, please make sure you do. You can send me an email, or you just send me an email. You get the email from your class reps. You send me an email, and then I will get in touch with you. I'll call you, and when you're sending me your email, just send me with your number. Okay, I'll call you. Such things are going to be communicated via email. Okay, so once again, thank you for giving me a listening ear and for permitting me that I go forward with it. Okay, and then so please, I started looking at the assignment. That's what He does. That's what He does. He brings messages like this to restore us, not to condemn us. Okay, He's a loving Father. So I started looking at your assignments, and please, next time I ask you to do an assignment, give your time to it. I read assignments. I don't just give marks, okay? And if I ask you to put a reference, let the reference be such that it's akin to what you're writing. Because there's some people, they put references. I click the references or copy the references, and there was nothing in it. Okay, that's deception. Okay. And if you have submitted your assignment after the time, it's minus 3 marks. Okay, so if you have 4/15, and you see them, I'll minus 3 marks, and you have 1/15. Okay, I started reading and I started scoring people. Okay, and I make comments. I may not be able to make all the comments for 400 and something students, but then I'm also I can. I'll try. Okay. Ceteris paribus, if we are not able to go how we expected, I'll make the notes for white blood cells and send them. And if you talk with your class reps and they permit that we organize a 1 or 2 day class, even within the break period, fine. But if not, it's not compulsory, please. Okay. If not, it's not compulsory. Okay, because classes should end May 29th. So after that, I'll send the notes for white blood cells subsequently, but then it will mean that we may go without explanations. But then if you concern among yourself and it's necessary, the classes will get to me, and we'll talk and see how far. I always want to give a voice to the notes, okay? But most often at times, my notes, are explanatory, okay, and I believe two as others, okay. So today we're looking at hemostasis, okay, and blood coagulation. So now we have talked about red blood cells and our blood is still in the blood vessel, but peradventure there is a rupture of the blood vessel and there's bleeding. How does the body react to be able to prevent bleeding? So hemostasis is the process by which the blood vessel or the blood, okay, maintains blood in its free state and prevent bleeding during blood vessel injury. Okay, so it's the process of keeping blood in the fluid state and preventing blood loss following what? An injury. Okay, so I'll try as much as I can to be a little bit not too fast, but at least going at the pace with which we can finish things. We have just about left. So let's imagine now that there is a rupture in the blood vessel. What is the first reaction? Okay, now let me. Okay, I don't know if you've done the histology that has to do with blood vessels. No, if you haven't. Now we look at the cardiovascular system. It's a system of a cardiac pump that pumps blood through blood vessels, and so we have blood vessels are conduits, okay, that ferry blood and its components, okay, and we have different types of blood vessels. We have arteries, we have capillaries, and we have veins. And even in between, even within the arteries, we still have sub-classification, okay? But tunica intima, we have the tunica media and the tunica externa or the tunica adventitia, okay? So we have the tunica media or the tunica intima, remember intima or the tunica intima, okay? Then we have the tunica media. Tunics are layers, okay? Tunics, okay? We have the tunica intima, the tunica media, and the tunica adventitia or the tunica externa. Okay, epithelium of the blood vessel is called the endothelium. Okay, the epithelium of the blood vessel is called what? The endothelium. So that's and it's a simple squamous epithelium. Okay, simple means it's one layer. Squamous means has what? Flat cells. And beneath the tunica intima, beneath this epithelium, what we call subendothelial connective tissues. Okay, can you still remember connective tissues, right? And which were the connective tissues that are present in blood vessels? You begin to imagine them. Okay, so we have the subendothelial connective tissue. So physiologically, normally the blood vessel has an intact endothelium. Please follow me keenly. Has an intact endothelium. Okay, and so there are properties of this endothelium that prevents blood from clotting. Okay, that keeps blood within the blood vessel. Okay, so we want to look at an instance where when there is a rupture to this blood vessel, how is blood clotting instigated? How does the blood vessel prevent blood from going out? You understand? Okay, so there are mechanisms. There are mechanisms that help prevent blood loss. Okay, and maintain the clot and try to sequester or what localize the clot. Also, the first thing is what's called vasoconstriction of the injured vessels. So there is what vasoconstriction. That means what? There's a constriction of the blood vessels. Now in the tunica media, I mentioned we have smooth muscle cells and elastic fibers. Okay, we have smooth muscle cells and elastic fibers, and one of the functions of the smooth muscle cells is what? To contract, isn't it? Okay, and so we can still remember the excitation contraction formula. Okay, remember we mentioned we have ion channels. So we have mechanically gated ion channels, we have legal gated ion channels, we have voltage gated ion channels. So what? There would be vasoconstriction, and this vasoconstriction is brought about, but first we have nervous reflexes. Okay, nervous reflexes, nervous. This could be as a result of what? The pain. Okay, by the pain of the injury. So we have nervous reflexes. Then the second one, we have myogenic contraction of the injured vessel. Okay, so this is a direct effect of the trauma. So with trauma, mechanically gated channels are open, which leads to depolarization. And when there's depolarization, contraction. Okay, so we have receptors, thromboxane A2 and serotonin. We'll come to that as we advance. All these things will be making sense. Okay, so we have what? We have the release of serotonin and thromboxane A2, and serotonin and thromboxane A2 to the blood vessel, vasoconstriction. Okay, and what? Remember, nervous reflexes are what? And they are fast, which could be as a result of what? Initiated by the pain of the injury. So the second one, and the third is injury to the, when there is an injury to the blood vessel, when there is an injury to the blood vessel. Now there is let me epithelium of the blood vessel contains some modified carbohydrate called glycosaminoglycans. Okay, glycosaminoglycans. And an example of one of the glycosaminoglycans, heparan sulfate. Okay, heparan sulfate, and heparan sulfate acts like heparin to what to inhibit to inhibit blood coagulation. So we have heparan sulfate, which is a glycosaminoglycan. Now uh, this glycosaminoglycan layer on the blood vessel is hypothesized to be negatively charged, and then the platelets too are negatively charged. So there's what a repulsion between the platelet and the endothelium. Okay, and the endothelium. Okay, there is this. Okay, there is so there's repulsion. Okay, so the endothelium is negatively charged, the platelets, the membrane of the platelets are negatively charged. Okay. Then on the platelets, we have receptors for collagen, for adenosine diphosphate, for fibrinogen, for von Willebrand factor, and for thrombopoietin. So on the platelet, okay, we have receptors for collagen, for adenosine diphosphate, for fibrinogen, for thrombopoietin, and for von Willebrand factor. Okay. Now, but the collagen is beneath the what? Is beneath the endothelium. Okay, that's what we call it subendothelial collagen fibers. Okay. Okay. So follow me keenly. So when we have an injury to the blood vessel, there is a tearing of the endothelium. Okay, there's a tearing of the endothelium, there's a rupture of the endothelium. What happens? The subendothelial collagen fibers are exposed. So there's exposure of what? The subendothelial collagen fibers. What happens? The platelets have what? Receptors for collagen. So what do? The platelets adhere to collagen as well as to the von Willebrand factor in the blood vessel wall through its receptors. Okay, so this is called platelet adhesion. Okay, platelet adhesion, the sticking of platelets to the subendothelial collagen fibers as a epithelium. So the binding of platelets initiates what we call platelet activation. And how is this brought about? So first, there is platelet adhesion or platelet binding to the subendothelial collagen fibers. Okay, and the platelet adhere to it. When this platelet bind, what happens? They are activated, and so what? The platelets swell. They develop pseudopodia. Remember, the platelets are biconvex. Okay, and we'll discuss about the structure of the platelets shortly. So they swell, they develop pseudopodia, they become sticky, and they rupture and release their contents. One of the contents is what? ADP. Okay, ADP. Okay, so ADP is what? Adenosine diphosphate. ADP. Okay, so when this ADP is released, what does ADP do? ADP binds, or yes, it binds platelets. Okay, so they release ADP binds to nearby platelets. Okay, because what? Those nearby platelets have ADP receptors on their membrane. Okay, So when these platelets, when this ADP binds to nearby platelet, it leads to activation of the platelets. Okay, what is the blood vessel trying to do? What is the blood trying to do? It's trying to form what we call a temporary hemostatic block, a loose hemostatic block that can be able to seal that place that was ruptured. The place that was ruptured, there's a hole. First, platelets stick to it. Okay, develop a pseudopodia, swell, burst, release ADP. Since the nearby platelets have ADP receptors, so platelet adhesion, platelet activation, platelet aggregation, platelet activation, platelet adhesion, platelet activation, platelet aggregation. So this vicious cycle of platelet activation is elicited, leading to what? Formation of a loose hemostatic block. Okay, but then this one is can only stop bleeding from small wounds only. Okay, from small wounds only. So in addition to ADP, platelet aggregation is also activated by what we call the platelet activation factor, which is released by the platelets as well as what neutrophils and monocytes. And then you have thrombin. We'll talk how thrombin is formed, and then thromboxylation. So if I ask you to name platelet aggregators, okay, platelet aggregators, what will be in your mind? Okay, so we have thromboxane A2, you have platelet activation factor, you have thrombin, you have ADP. Okay, so what is the first mechanism? What is the first phase? Constriction of the when it's rupture of the endothelium, the intrinsic pathway is activated, and then there's also release of tissue factor from the tissues as well as so this also brings about the activation of the extrinsic pathway. So in this formation of the definitive plug is about the coagulation cascade itself. Okay, there is the coagulation cascade itself. Okay, which brings about a series of reactions that stops the bleeding. Okay, so can you type the platelet aggregators? Is it Chinwe? I think they should be on your PowerPoint. Okay, they should be on your PowerPoint. But then thromboxane A2, thrombin, platelet activation factor, and what? ADP. Okay, adenosine diphosphate. Okay. So we have okay, somebody is doing that. Selenia is type thromboxane A2. So make sure you type that well. You type thrombo and A2. Okay, thromboxane A2. So for the formation of the blood clot, okay, definitive blood clot. So we have this cascade of events, which is both from the extrinsic pathway and the intrinsic pathway. We'll come to it detailing, and then this leads to what? Formation of conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin. Okay, and fibrin is a mesh. Okay, which seals up bleeding. Okay, so that is that. Okay, and so after we have the sealing of, you've had a wound before, right? So after you have that mesh formed up, it's like you see some mesh that is formed that when you squeeze it, you can see a yellowish fluid coming out. Of course, that's serum, right? That's more or less natural centrifugation for us to have our serum. So if when you squeeze that, you have your serum. Okay, it's yellowish. Okay, it's a non-clear, it's a non-coagulable yellow fluid. Okay, called serum. Now, then after that, you have after a few moments, the clot starts shrinking. What we call clot retraction or syneresis. Okay, the clot starts shrinking, and then we can have that fluid oozing out of the place. Okay, so as the clot retracts, it pulls the edges of the vessels together, which helps hemostasis. So as the clot is retracting, it's pulling the vessels together, and then and then afterward, we can now enter into the phase of repair. Okay, but as this clot retraction is believed to be produced by a substance secreted by the platelets called retractosine. Okay, retractosine. We've experienced more or less an injury, right, to our blood vessels, and we saw how there was a formation of a clot, right, and then that sooner or later it dries up and the skin joins, okay, but before the skin joins back together, so to speak, we have and afterwards now we can now have your repair. The platelets themselves contract. Remember, platelets contain actin, they contain myosin, they contain what? Thrombostenin. Okay, so these contractile proteins, thrombostenin, actin, and myosin, are activated by thrombin and calcium, which helps in what? Clot retraction. Okay. Then after we have the clot retraction, we have then the next phase is repair the damaged blood vessel. Okay. Now, I don't know if you've done the histology of the blood vessels, but then you know that you also have fibroblasts. Okay, these are the cells that will help with lead to the formation of the various kinds of fibers, the elastic fibers and the collagen fibers, in the blood vessel. Okay, so fibroblasts together with the endothelia and the smooth muscle cells, they grow, they proliferate, they multiply under the growth factors. Okay, and this helps now as they are proliferating and multiplying, helping what? To seal off, to repair the blood vessel. Okay, and these growth factors are secreted by platelets, macrophages, endothelial cells. Okay, and one of them is what? The platelet derived growth factor. Okay, Stanley is asking that there's a point that the clot becomes one half. That means the clot becomes, now, due to that retraction, the clot is reducing in size, becomes half its original size. One half is, I think that's the old, more or less the old English, right? The old English means a half. Okay, the clot reduces in size, half is original. Okay, half is original. Okay, half it's original. Okay, one half means 1/2. Okay, that's Shakespearean English. But we may choose to start teaching in King James English now. So we have one half, right? I hope, Stanley, you've gotten that right. So we have the repair, which is a result of proliferation of the fibroblasts that is found in the endothelium and in the vascular endothelium and smooth muscles. Okay, and this is as a result of what? The effect of growth factors that are produced. Okay, and so this cellular growth now, as the cells of the blood vessels are growing, they now invade the clot. You understand? They invade the clot and forms a fibrous tissue, so to speak. They invade the clot. As they're eating up and entering the clot is disappearing, and what these fibrous tissues, these are more or less like cells. So after 1 to 2 weeks, the blood vessel is repaired. Okay, that's why you may have a wound, and after a while you don't see it because of what? The invasion of this clot by what? By by fibroblast. Okay. So let's also quickly look at describing the platelets. These are enucleated cells. They don't have nucleus, and their lifespan is about 8 to 10 days. They have a diameter of about 4 to 5 micrometer, and their count is about 150 to 450,000 cells per cubic millimeter of blood. Yeah, and they are formed by pinching off from large cells called megakaryocytes. Okay, so they are formed by the pinching up of the cytoplasm from the cell of what? Large cells called what? Megakaryocytes. Okay, megakaryocytes. So they are pinching off. That's why they also don't have a nucleus, and their production is regulated by colony stimulating factors. Okay, and what? Thrombopoietin. Okay, and these factors are produced from the liver and the kidneys. And just like we did for erythropoiesis, they help what? In the maturation. Bone marrow are sequestered where? In the spleen. Okay. sorry, 6 to 75% are in circulation, while 25 to 40% are sequestered in the spleen. Okay, 25 to 40% are sequestered where in the spleen. Okay, so the platelet is biconvex. Biconvex. The red blood cell is biconcave. Okay, so the platelet is what is biconvex. Okay, has a lifespan of about 8 to 10 days. Okay, 8 to 10 days. Yeah. Okay. And so let's look at the structure. Just as we did at the for red blood cells, the structure of the platelet is quite okay. Yes, substances are released. We mentioned that the platelets ruptured and released ADP, right? So it's possible it passes through this one open clavicular system. Okay. So the platelet membrane has this extensive invaginated uh, canalicular system. Okay. And so, please, when you get your textbook, look at the structure of the platelet. You will see that. Okay, and then on the membrane of the platelet, they are okay. These are, of course, they are phospholipids. Okay, and one of the phospholipids is platelet factor 3. Okay, platelet factor 3, and we'll see its importance. Okay, which it plays an important role in clotting. Factor 3, and on the phospholipids too. From these phospholipids, thromboxane A2 is formed. Okay, thromboxane A2 is formed, and we'll talk about that. There's a student who asked me a question via my email, and I said today I'll be able to explain that. Okay. Somebody said, could you kindly explain if carotid artery will heal by a clot? Now you try to rephrase the question, but I may be thinking what you're asking. Now, carotid artery is, of course, one of the large arteries that arises uh, from the aorta, and now so with the velocity with which blood, the pressure with which blood comes out from the left ventricle, it's also possible for this bit to rupture what the blood vessel. Now, when you have also at the point of bifurcation where large arteries are dividing, there's also a risk of what of rupture of the endothelium there. Okay, and then in people who are anemic, the viscosity is reduced and the velocity is high. So the flow becomes turbulent and not laminar. Okay, we mentioned that the one of the consequences of anemia is that what the blood flow becomes turbulent. By turbulent means it's in the layers are in different directions and can rupture and can tear off. Okay, and can tear off the endothelium. So this is an aspect of these people are prone to intravascular clotting. Okay, they are prone to what intravascular clotting, and there is also possibly a physiological mechanism by which they can also heal. Okay, they can also heal. Okay, but then to say if carotid artery would heal by a clot, okay, yeah, there are physiological uh, possibilities of that. Okay, there are physiological possibilities of carotid artery healing by a clot. Okay, so how does the body deal with intravascular clotting? Okay, now because if there is a rupture, then either the clotting, the mechanism would be by an intrinsic pathway. Okay, if I'm not by an extrinsic pathway. Okay, so when there is a rupture, okay, the clotting mechanism will be instigated by what an extrinsic pathway, and we'll see that. Okay, but that's a great. Okay, then Celine said there is a part in the notes that says their life half-life average is 4 days. So is there a difference on that which the lifespan you just mentioned, 8 to 10 days? Okay, then I will confirm, but I think oh, average is 4 days. Okay, average is 4 days, but then the duration is 8 to 10 days, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll confirm that. Okay, I think I read that this morning, just 8 to 10 days. Okay, but thanks for bringing that to my notice. So we're talking about the phospholipids, that they are the source one of these for platelet factor 3. Okay, and then 2, these phospholipids are the source of production of thromboxane A2, and we'll discuss that. Okay, and then on the presence of present on the membrane, of course, we have receptors, right? Okay, we have receptors. Okay, and we've mentioned these receptors before, and they also have proteins that help facilitate the binding of platelets to injured blood vessels. Okay. Then in the cytoplasm of the platelets, we have glycogen, we have lysosomes, we have mitochondria, just all the normal things you can think, all the normal organelles you can think of. But we also have contractile proteins, which we've mentioned before, actin, thrombostanin. Okay. And then we have two types of granules in the cytoplasm. We have the dense granules and the alpha granules. The dense granules contains known protein substances, and the alpha granules contain what? Protein substances. Okay, you have calcium. Then in the alpha granules, you have what? Platelet-derived growth factor, clotting factor 13, Van Willebrand factor, platelet activation factor. Okay, now, and so the assignment there, okay, well, not now. So we have platelet-derived growth factor, we have clotting factor 13, we have von Willebrand factor, we have platelet activation factor, we have coagulation factor 5, we have beta thromboglobulin, we have thrombospondin, we have heparin neutralizing factor. So these are protein substances that are present within the alpha granules, okay? Within the alpha granules. So we have functions of the platelets, okay? What are functions of the platelets? There are many functions. They are involved, we've seen already that they're involved in formation of the primitive hemostatic plaque. That means formation of the loose hemostatic plaque through platelet adhesion, platelet activation, and platelet aggregation. Okay, they will have also seen that they release vasoconstrictors, for example, serotonin and thromboxane A2. Okay, we've also seen that they release platelet activation factor 3, which is essential for blood clotting. Okay, due to the presence of actin, myosin, and thrombostanin, they help in clot retraction. Okay, in clot retraction. Then they also help in stabilizing the blood clot through factor 13, which we'll look at shortly. They are also involved in repair of the blood vessel, okay, by releasing platelet-derived growth factor, okay. They also help in conversion of prothrombin to thrombin, okay, and we'll see that just now, okay. So let's look at thromboxane A2. Thromboxane A2, and this is a prostaglandin-related substance, okay? And what the role of thromboxane A2 is it causes vasoconstriction and platelet aggregation, and promote platelet aggregation. So the two major functions of thromboxane A2 is vasoconstriction and promotion of platelet aggregation. Platelet aggregation, okay? So let's look at the formation of thromboxane A2. Okay, let's look at the formation of thromboxane A2. Okay, can somebody just type the content of? Okay, somebody has just typed the content of dense granules. Okay, so let's look at how thromboxane A2 is formed. Thromboxane A2 is formed from membrane phospholipids. Is formed from platelet membrane phospholipids. In this context, because it's also formed in other places. So thromboxane A2 is formed from platelet phospholipids. How is it formed? Phospholipase A2 enzyme, under the activation of collagen and thrombin, convert these phospholipids to arachidonic acid. Okay, So phospholipase A2 activated by thrombin and collagen, okay? Okay, thrombin and collagen converts phospholipid to arachidonic acid, okay? Somebody's raising a point there, an important point there. That's what was distracting me. Oh, okay, that's beautiful. Sikende Chumunya says, Selena, the one in notes talks about, I didn't even take note of that, talks about half-life. Okay, then this one I'm talking about lifespan. Okay, thank you so much for bringing that to mind. I didn't take note of that slight difference. Okay, we're talking about formation of thromboxane A2. Okay, and say they are formed from platelet membrane phospholipid. And this membrane phospholipid, these membrane phospholipids are converted to arachidonic acid by phospholipase A2, and this phospholipase A2 is activated by thrombin and collagen. Okay, then this arachidonic acid is converted to prostaglandins PGG2 and PGH2 by cyclooxygenase enzyme, or called COX. Okay, it's by what? The cyclooxygenase enzyme. You understand? Okay, and then from this PGG2 or PGH2, we can form thromboxane A2. We can form prostacyclin. We can also form other prostaglandins, what are called PGF2 alpha. And see from that PGG2, we can see from another class of prostaglandins called leukotrienes. Okay, but let's focus on thromboxane A2. So thromboxane A2 is formed from arachidonic acid by the thromboxane A2 synthetase. Okay, synthetase. Okay, and so the half-life, thromboxane A2 is very unstable. Okay, with a half-life of 30 seconds. You can imagine that. So it spontaneously breaks down into an inactive product called thromboxane B2. Okay, thromboxane B2. And how thromboxane A2 acts by inhibiting intracellular adenyl cyclase. Okay, thromboxane A2 acts by inhibiting intracellular adenyl cyclase. I think I should type that. Adenyl cyclase. Okay, acts by inhibiting adenyl cyclase. Okay, so what happens when there is inhibition of adenyl cyclase? The intracellular concentration of cyclic AMP reduces. Okay, and there is also an increase in intracellular calcium concentration. Okay, there's an increase in intracellular calcium concentration. Okay, and this calcium is available for contraction too. Okay, contraction. Okay, for contraction. And Stanley, it is ADP. Okay, okay, yeah, ADP, ATP, and calcium, serotonin. Okay, and Regan, I've told you. I think I've repeated that several phospholipase is activated by thrombin and collagen. Okay, thrombin and collagen. Okay, thrombin and collagen. Okay. So thromboxane A2 brings about platelet aggregation and what? Vasoconstriction. Okay. And then the opposite of in the blood vessel wall, something else is happening. The PGH2 is converted to prostacyclin, okay, by the prostacyclin synthesis enzyme, okay. And what is the function of prostacyclin? It inhibits platelet aggregation and produces what? Vasodilation, okay. It inhibits platelet aggregation and promotes what? Vasodilation. So what is the function of thromboxane A2 and what is the function, or what are the functions of thromboxane A2 and what are the functions of prostacyclin? Okay, just quickly type that there. So then you now see that there is a balance between the action of thromboxane A2 and prostacyclin, keeping blood what? In a fluid state. Okay, maintaining blood in a fluid state. So this prevents excessive extension of blood clot. At the same time, it also maintains the blood flow. Okay. How many of us have taken aspirin before? Ibuprofen. Okay. So ibuprofen is what we call is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. Okay, it's an example of a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. Okay, so we also have steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Okay, now one of the ways steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs act, they act by blocking what? Phospholipase A2. Okay, they act by inhibiting the actions of what? Phospholipase A2. And then how do non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs act? They act by inhibiting cyclooxygenase enzyme. Okay. Cyclooxygenase enzyme. So we have several variants of the cyclooxygenase enzyme. We have COX-1, COX-2, COX-3, I think there's even COX-4. Okay, so okay. So we have COX-1, COX-2, and COX. So steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs act by blocking phospholipase A2, and non-steroidal act by blocking what? Cyclooxygenase enzyme. So when you take aspirin, that's what aspirin does. So it binds to cyclooxygenase and it inhibits the production of prostaglandins. Okay, so thromboxane A2 will not be formed, prostacyclin will not be formed. Okay, but then the formation of prostacyclin is much more. The endothelial cells can readily produce new cyclooxygenase faster than what? Than the cyclooxygenase on the platelets. So we have a prostacyclin has an upper hand. Okay, so but even when taking when taking aspirin, the effect is more on thromboxane A2 than it is on what? Prostacyclin. Okay, so there is a recovery in the production of prostacyclin than the recovery for the production of what? Thromboxane A2. So we have some sort of inhibition of platelet aggregation and a kind of vasodilation. Okay, so you have individuals who have this tendency for intravascular clotting. There are people who, if just sitting for a short while or a long while, their blood start clotting inside. Okay, so some of these people are placed on aspirin for a lifetime. Okay, 300 milligrams daily for a lifetime. Okay, so what is it? What it prevents, helps prevent what? Intravascular clotting. So you can look at the chart which I gave to you. Okay. And you can see the differences. So let's look at blood coagulation now. That's beautiful. The answers are great. Okay. So we have blood coagulation or blood clotting is performed by a series of factors. We call them clotting factors, and most of these clotting factors are really formed from the liver and some from the platelets themselves. Okay. So and these clotting factors are known by their Roman numerals, but then the first four are mostly known by name, are called by name, but from clotting factor 5, clotting factor. But then the first 1, 2, 3, 4 are usually named, okay, like fibrinogen, prothrombin, tromboplastin, T3-tromboplastin, and calcium, okay. So these clotting factors, they are proteins, okay. They are zymogens, they are proteins and they are serine proteases. That means they act like enzymes, okay? And then they activate the next factor. That means each factor, an activated factor activates the next factor in a sequence by splitting a limited number of peptide bonds and exposing the active side, which contains the serine. So called the serine proteases. Okay, and they function to an extent like the enzymes of the pancreas. Okay, probably maybe evolutionary they share the same original, so to speak. Okay, so these clotting factors are called serine proteases. Okay, Kasongo says, is that the reason why aspirin is used in patients with hypertension? Okay, I would want to think first in that light, because now with hypertension, remember I talked about the blood pressure is high and there is increased tendency for intravascular clotting, because this pressure can also can rupture the the vascular endothelium, and then this hypertension too is the causation is multifaceted. It could also be as a result of deposition of fatty plaques, and these fatty plaques cause roughening of the what we call atherosclerosis, causes roughening of the endothelium, and then when there is a roughening of the endothelium, there's an instigation of the extrinsic uh, 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 pathway of blood clotting. This is instigated. You understand? So for this, aspirin is used uh, also to prevent platelet aggregation, because when there's also roughening, remember when there's roughening too of the endothelium, there could be tearing, and then what happens, there could be platelet adhesion because of the exposure of the subendothelial collagen fibers. So it's quite very possible that that could be the reason. Okay, it wouldn't elude that within the context of our discussion, that is well founded. Okay, that is well founded. Okay. Yeah. So I was talking about these clotting factors, right? And say they are serine proteases, okay? And when they are activated, there's a cascade of events is initiated, okay? And this leads one the this the factor, the activated factor activates the next factor in the sequence by splitting a limited number of the peptide bonds and exposing and uncovering the active enzyme site containing the serine. So we have 12 clotting factors. In essence, but then of course we don't have clotting factor 6. So we have 1 to 13, and we also have other proteins that are involved. Okay. So we have these clotting factors, and please you need to know them. Okay. Okay. So you need to know these 12 clotting factors in order. Okay. Yes, Vincent, that is the answer. So an issue of increase in blood velocity, and there's also roughening of the endothelium. Okay, and with this roughening, there will be activation of platelet aggregation. Okay, and so we have one situation that will inhibit platelet aggregation. Okay, so the cascade mechanism of blood clotting is we have two different systems. We have the extrinsic system and we have what the intrinsic system. We have the extrinsic pathway and the intrinsic pathway. Please take note. I won't go right into the details, but then I'll give you the basic introductions that are important. Okay. So if you have your chart with you there, you see that the extrinsic pathway occurs when there is stress and the surrounding tissues. It's quite important. Okay. So the extrinsic pathway can only occur in vivo, inside the body. Okay, so the extrinsic pathway or trauma to the vascular wall and the surrounding tissues, okay? And it's quite a rapid process. And it's so what happens is that the damaged tissue releases factor 3, what is called the tissue thromboplastin, okay? And so this factor 3 now activates factor 7, okay? Yes, Miranda, these clotting factors actually, they are enzymes, okay? They are serine product, we call them proteases, okay? Okay. And that's why they are secreted in inactive form. They have to be activated, okay? So the damaged tissues release what? Factor 3, okay? And this factor 3 activates factor 7 in the presence of what? In the presence of tissue phospholipids, okay? And then also in the presence of calcium, okay? And then this factor 7 activates what? Factor 10. If you have the diagram with you there, please, okay? So we have tissue trauma will lead to release of our tissue factor, right? And this tissue factor activates factor 7, okay? That's from the chart. You can see it activates factor 7, okay? And then activated factor 7 in the presence of thromboplastin, that's yes, and then platelet phospholipid and calcium. They activate what? Factor 10, okay? Activate factor 10. And then this active factor 10 acts as a what? A proton-beam activator complex. So the activate and platelet phospholipid together form what we call what? A proton-beam activation complex. Please take note, okay? Form what we call what? The proton-beam activator complex, okay? Look at your diagram. I'm looking at mine as well. So the thrombin now converts soluble fibrinogen to what? To insoluble fibrin, okay? So all the other details there are there. So, okay. So factor 5 really increases the effect of activated factor 10 on proton beam, okay? And so we've seen that the extrinsic pathway starts with release of tissue factor from traumatized tissue. So we have that the extrinsic factor then can be inhibited by what? Tissue factor inhibitor. Inhibited by what? A tissue factor inhibitor, which forms a complex with what? Plastin, activated factor 7, and activated factor 10. Yeah. So please look at the diagram. And then for the intrinsic pathway, it occurs in the absence of tissue damage. So it can occur both in vivo and in vitro, okay? But the extrinsic pathway occurs only where? In vivo, okay? So, and then so please you go through that cascade. It's just one leading to the other. There's no need reciting that. Then a question, please. Name the proteins involved in contact activation. That's your first assignment for today. Name the proteins that are involved in contact activation. Of course, that has to do with the intrinsic pathway. Okay. Now, one of the things which you will need to know is that all clotting factors are formed in the liver, except factor 3, factor 4, part of factor 8, and factor 13. You've been reading before. Can somebody just quickly, not looking from your notes, give me facts? What is factor 4? What is factor 3? What is factor 4? What is part of factor 8? What is factor 8? And what is factor 13? Without looking from your notes. So the clotting factors are globulins that are produced from the liver, except factor 3, which is tissue thromboplastin, factor 4, which is calcium, part of factor 8. Factor 8 is the Christmas factor. Yes, factor 8 should be Christmas factor. And no, factor 8 is the anti-hemophilic factor. Okay, factor 8 is anti-hemophilic factor. Okay, factor 8 is anti-hemophilic factor. And part of that anti-hemophilic factor, it has two components. One of the components is produced from the liver, the other component is produced from the platelets. And the component that's produced from the platelet is von Willebrand factor. Okay. It's called von Willebrand factor. Okay. So note that. Okay. Then factor 13 is called the fibrin stabilizing factor. Remember, we meant why is the extrinsic system only occurring in vivo? And then in cases of why do we have both systems occurring in case of injury to the blood vessel? Okay, the first one is, why is it that the extrinsic system only occurs in vivo? And why do we have both systems occurring in case of what injury to the blood vessel? So I remember in your notes I had given to you, I had showed you why thrombosis may occur in the body. Okay, so of course in veins, if the blood flow is sluggish, there will be time enough for what aggregation of the platelets. That's correct, Cabwe. That's okay. Then in arteries are the site of bifurcation, okay, the site of damage in during atherosclerosis and things like that. So it's quite straightforward there. Those ones you can look at them, please, so that we don't have to waste much time. It's too far behind having 30 more slides to go. Then let's look at the role of calcium in blood clotting. Okay, if you go to your casket, okay, let me see. Yeah, look at the first one. I think I gave you three caskets. The one that is on the, is it pink or color? You see that on all the platforms, on all the parts, the reactions, you see calcium is involved, right? So you see that calcium is quite important in blood clotting. Okay, except for the initial steps, it is required for all steps, all the other steps of blood clotting. Okay. And so reducing, well, as much as it's important, reducing the blood calcium level would not affect clotting, okay, except but before somebody dies of hypocalcemia due to clotting, due to the fact that the blood cannot clot, the person would have died from other things, okay? So that's why the statement I said in vivo reduction of blood calcium to levels that can stop blood clotting is incompatible with life, because the person would have died of tetany, okay? Tetany, okay? We'll talk about that when we come to endocrine physiology detailing, okay? And we also see that vitamin K is important in blood clotting, okay? Okay, please take note of this. And what is vitamin K? It's a fat-soluble vitamin that requires bile for its absorption in the small intestines, okay? It requires bile for its absorption in the small intestines. Okay, it requires bile for its absorption in the small intestines. Okay, and why? Calcium, the vitamin K is necessary for the conversion of glutamic acid to gamma carboxyglutamic acid. Okay, so it's like a cofactor to the enzyme that is important in this conversion. Okay, and we have 6 proteins that rely on vitamin K for their activation. We have factor 2, 7, 9, 10, protein C and S. Never forget this. We have factors 2, 7, 9, and 10. Please, in your notes, correct it. It's not 11. It's 9, not 11. Okay, say factors 2, 7, 9, and 10. The note I gave to you, I mistakenly typed it as 11. It's 9. Factors 2, 7, 9, and 10. Okay, as well as protein C and S. So vitamin K is called what? The anti-hemorrhagic factor, the anti-hemorrhagic vitamin. Okay, that means it prevents what? Hemorrhage. And where is vitamin K produced from? It's produced from the small intestines, as we've mentioned. Okay, it's produced from the large intestines. Produced from the large intestines by the action of what? By bacteria. So one of the issues then would be prolonged intake of antibiotics kill this bacteria and also affect the production of vitamin K. Okay. So we could also have, so what will cause Yersinia bacteria, probably maybe due to prolonged use of if the network has. So we have factors that affect blood clotting, which I've mentioned them in the lecture material. I'm sorry if you're listening, or if you're following this discussion and you're not part of my students, as I mentioned last time, you can download the notes from the website, from my website, okay? John, so is it the reason why people who are regular nose bleeding are giving shots of vitamin? Okay, it's possible, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right, okay. Remember we said vitamin K is necessary for the activation of certain clotting factors, right? Factor 2, 7, 9, 10, protein C and S, okay? And we'll come and see the function of protein C and S, okay? So there are factors that either accelerate clotting or decelerate or inhibit clotting. Okay, they are listed there. Okay, so please you look at that. So one of the things is that, and then so let's look at anticoagulants. Okay, these are substances that are used to prevent clotting. It's possible patients. We could have many things. Could be uh, we have individuals who are hemophilia that have tendency of bleeding. You could also have people with what we call that are having thrombocytopenia. So we have two types of thrombocytopenia. We have thrombocytopenic thrombocytopenic or purpura. Sorry. People who have purpura. We'll look at that shortly. So we have two types of purpura. We have thrombocytopenic and thrombocytopenic purpura. So there is always a tendency. Then you could have people who have where probably a small rupture or a small abrasion in a nasal cavity could also predispose to that. Okay, so I think that could be part of it. Okay. So we are looking at anticoagulants. Okay, so we have these are substances that ethyl. You said there is no volume. Maybe check your system. I'm sure I can still be gotten. If that's the same thing for others, please let me know. So we have substances that prevent clotting. We have sodium oxalate. We have sodium citrate. We have ether. We have heparin. Okay. So those are what anticoagulants. Okay. Okay. So that is. So, but then we want to look at heparin in detailing. Okay. 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 Regan says he can get me. Lynn says she can get me. So, Ethan, check your system. Maybe the gods of your village doesn't want you to follow these lectures. So you have heparin. Okay, so we have heparin, right? Okay, heparin is it's a highly negatively, it's a sulfated polysaccharide, just like heparan sulfate. It's a sulfated polysaccharide, and then it's an unnatural anticoagulant that is produced by mast cells and basophils, and it acts by facilitating the actions of antithrombin 3. Okay, and it acts by facilitating the actions of antithrombin 3, and which is a protein secreted by the liver that inhibits the active forms of factor 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so heparin acts by facilitating the actions of antithrombin 3. Okay, and it also has a clearing effect, what we call it also helps to decrease the level of lipids. Okay, so heparin acts as a cofactor for the lipoprotein lipase enzyme. Okay, for the lipoprotein lipase enzyme. Okay, so thus heparin decreases the level of lipids in the blood. Okay. So what if you are trying to somebody is having bleeding and they give heparin? So why are you if the person has excess heparin, you can give an antidote, and the antidote for heparin is what protamine. Okay, okay, it's protamine. Okay, it is used clinically to neutralize overdose of heparin, and the onset of action of heparin is slow, and the duration of action is short. So somebody who has bleeding immediately, the onset is rapid. Sorry, the onset of action is rapid and the duration is short. So when somebody has bleeding, so the first thing you want to give the person is what heparin, because it will start rapidly, okay? But then it won't act for a long time. So another anticoagulant is what dicumarol, and an example of dicumarol is warfarin, okay? Heparin is of animal origin, dicumarol is of plant origin, okay? And so it's similar in structure to vitamin K. Okay, and how does dicumarol and other coumarin derivatives act? They exert their anticoagulant effect by blocking the action of vitamin K in the liver. So they act by competitive inhibition. Okay, they act by what? Competitive inhibition, where vitamin K has to bind on the enzyme for the conversion of glutamic acid to gamma glutamic acid. Vitamin K, the dicumarol binds there. So this inhibits the synthesis of factors 2, 7, 9, and 10. Okay. Selenia is protamine. Protamine. Already your notes? Okay. So we have protamine. So what if dicumarol or warfarin acts by competitive inhibition? Okay, so each time we hear of competitive inhibition, if there is an excess of dicumarol, what do? You give excess vitamin K. So the antidote for dicumarol is what? Excess vitamin K. Okay, and so we said the onset of action of warfarin, the onset of action of uh, of heparin. The onset of action of heparin is rapid, but the duration of action is short. Why for warfarin the onset is prolonged, the onset is delayed, while the duration is prolonged, is long. Okay. So in cases of thrombosis, are treated first by heparin, and then the treatment is continued by dicumarol. Okay, so you have the differences there. So you also try to look at, okay, with what are the natural anti-clotting mechanisms? Okay. Okay. What are the natural clotting mechanisms? I've listed them there. First, the rapid blood flow rate and intact endothelium. Some of them are just a repetition of the things we've mentioned, so we don't waste time. I have a meeting by 10:30. People are already coming. Okay. So one of the things I want you to know, it's the fibrinolytic system. I will. Okay, let us look at the fibrinolytic system together. We still have some time. Can you, if you have your PowerPoint with you there, please, you can look at it. Okay. The fibrinolytic system is a highly specialized system that removes the small clots that are continuously formed in the body. It has to remove them. If not, these clots can detach and block tiny capillaries. And when they block tiny capillaries, this leads to ischemia. Okay. Ischemia. Okay. What is ischemia? Ischemia is decreased tissue perfusion. Okay. And when there's ischemia, the next thing is what is necrosis. Okay. What is necrosis? Cell death. Okay, so to speak. Okay, cell death. Okay. And now when there is necrosis of several cells and an area of an organ, what do you have? What you have? What? Infarction. Okay, infarction. Yeah. So the fibrinolytic system helps to mop up some of these tiny clots that are formed in the body. Okay. And please make sure you master the diagram I gave to you of the fibrinolytic system. Do master it. Okay. Please do master it. Okay. So let's look at the fibrinolytic system quickly. Now, please follow me. It's quite a little bit the starting point. So one thing is that the liver produces an inactive globulin that is called what? Plasminogen. Okay. This plasminogen or profibrinolysin is inactive. So it is activated to plasmin or fibrinolysin. Fibrinolysin. Lysine the fibrin. Okay. So this profibrinolysin is formed from where? From the liver. And it is converted to fibrinolysin by what? By thrombin and some activators. One of the activators is urokinase plasminogen activator and tissue plasminogen activator. Okay, look at the diagram. Plasminogen or profibrinolysin is converted to plasmin or fibrinolysin by thrombin and plasminogen activator, or what we call tissue plasminogen activator. Okay, tissue plasminogen activator. Tissue plasminogen activator, or what we call urokinase plasminogen activator. Okay, urokinase plasminogen activator. Okay, you can see it from the diagram. Okay, so the plasminogen, the liver produces plasminogen or profibrinolysin. This is inactivated, it's inactive, and so it can be activated to plasmin by thrombin or tissue plasminogen activator or urokinase plasminogen activator. And even from the diagram I showed, it can also be activated by what factors? Activated factors 11, activated factor 12, and kallikrein. Okay. But then the tissue plasminogen activator is released from injured tissues and vascular endothelium. Okay. And the liver produces an inhibitor to its actions. Okay. So where do we have this tissue plasminogen activator?
Where do we have this tissue plasminogen activator and urokinase plasminogen activator? They are produced from what? They are produced from damaged tissues and blood vessels. But then the liver produces what? Their inactivator. So the liver produces the plasminogen activator inhibitor. Okay, so the liver produces what? The plasminogen activator inhibitor, which inhibits tissue plasminogen activator and urokinase plasminogen activator. Okay, so that means what? When the liver produces the plasminogen activator inhibitor, the tissue plasminogen activator is inhibited. And what is the function of the tissue plasminogen activator? Is to activate plasminogen to plasmin. Okay, so they are constantly in check. So the tissue plasminogen activator inhibitor inhibits tissue plasminogen activator and urokinase plasminogen activator. Now, so what inactivates this plasminogen activator inhibitor? What inactivates the plasminogen activator inhibitor? Okay, first you have to know that all vascular endothelial cells, okay, produce thrombomodulin, okay, and thrombomodulin binds to thrombin and forms what? The thrombomodulin thrombin complex. And this thrombomodulin thrombin complex prevents blood clotting. How? First, this complex activates protein C. Okay, this complex activates what? Protein C. And activated protein C, together with its cofactor protein S, inactivates factor 8 and factor 5. And when it inactivates factor 8 and factor 5, it also inactivates the tissue plasminogen activator so it inactivates clotting factors 5 and clotting factors 8, and it also inactivates the inhibitor of the tissue plasminogen activator. It inactivates the inhibitor of the tissue plasminogen activator. Okay, so what does it do? It activates the tissue plasminogen activator indirectly by inactivating its inhibitor. Okay, so when this is done, the plasminogen is active now and can be converted to plasmin, which can now further lyse the fibrin. Okay, lyse the fibrin. Okay. Then, question, please. What is the first question I gave? Please remind me before I give the second one. There are just 1 or 2 lines answers. I don't know. Okay. Okay. Name the proteins that are produced from the alpha granulins, right? So the second question. So name the proteins that, or of what importance is it that the vascular endothelial cells of the cerebral microcirculation do not produce thrombomodulin? Okay, of what significance is it that the vascular endothelial cells of the cerebral microcirculation do not produce thrombomodulin or not produce thrombomodulin? Okay. Okay, the rest of the things on the PowerPoint you can use, you can go through them, you can study them. Okay. Thrombomodulin. Please, all the answers shouldn't be more than half a page, and I will check. Okay. So for the second one, I want a reference. And please, before you do referencing, then go online, check how to do referencing. Okay. Check how to do referencing. Vincent, don't worry, I would coordinate with the class reps and would send out the right version of the assignment, okay? Please, you shouldn't go beyond half a page. And when you read, don't copy and paste, okay? Extract the information and write it. I've started reading the assignments previously, and most of you are doing copy and pasting. Okay. Okay. So we'll end the class here. Next class, I don't know whether I should focus on blood grouping or I should skip to white blood cells first. So I think I may skip to white blood cells first before I come back to blood grouping. Okay, so that and so the white blood cells I haven't made notes, so I'll just teach like that. So make sure you tell everyone to participate. Now I'm seeing the class, listen to it later on, but there's always a grace for understanding at the time of institute production. Okay. So it's been an awesome day. The energy is I'm energized. Thank you, Moses. Thank you, Regan. Thank you, Lindue. It's been an energized morning. And I want you to go back with the same energy and let it be quite different, okay? Chibwe says we should look at white blood cells first, and we're concerned with the class reps, and we'll look at that. Someone is asking when is the next class? Should be Friday, okay? Thank you. So should be Friday, okay? Even though I have a busy week, but then it should be Friday, okay? Please, okay, patience, so that we can tell others it's on Friday, okay? And I want to think it's the same time. Okay, it's the same time. So please let everyone be. I haven't sent notes for white blood cells, and I'm not sure I'll send notes. Okay, I'm not sure I'll send notes, so I'll give in my energy on my lecture that day. Okay, so make sure you're praying for me that I get up on the energized part of the day. Someone is asking, what is the due date? This is a simple assignment, but then I know that you also have other courses you're doing. So we could make it on Friday. Today is what? Tuesday. So we make it on Friday so that we don't allow it to. Remember, most of these things I like to give assignments within my material. Okay, so we make it on Friday, okay? And somebody is suggesting that we should keep the class by 8:30. Okay. Let's keep the class at 8:30. Yes, let's keep the class at 8:30. We drink to that. Okay. Okay, thank you so much, and thanks to everyone. And also thank the class rep for Biomed, as it's his laptop I've been using all this while. And so whatever you're enjoying thanks to his laptop, okay? Mine is slow, not that if I don't have a laptop, mine is slow. Before you flood your chat group with Mr. Ngala, they should do relief fund for Mr. Ngala.